total of 19 games, taking it easy as the season is winding down for my Lakers. I don't want to get into that. Welcome to Coast to Coast, Carrie Champion. That's David Lloyd, easily the best colleague of my entire career. I appreciate you, my friend. We both have one thing in common. We do not have as much money as Mike Trout.
No. Some small towns don't have as much money as Mike Trout.
Yes, you are correct about that, my friend.
Not after today's news, Carrie, that's for sure. The Angels and Trout are finalizing this mind-blowing, record-shattering contract to the tune of 12 years and $430 million. Angels owner Artie Moreno has taken some big swings at mega contracts in the past that haven't worked out, notably Albert Pujols and Josh Hamilton, but not shy about trying it again and on a much larger scale than anything we've seen before in really in any sport. Trout's contract is the largest in baseball history, beating Bryce Harper's contract from this offseason by $100 million. Trout's average annual value, nearly $36 million, also surpasses the record formerly held by Zach Greinke. Our MLB insider, Jeff Passan, broke the story and joins us now. Jeff, what more do you have on the largest contract in sports history?
Well, David, this is actually a 10-year extension on top of the 2 years remaining on Mike Trout's 6-year, $144.5 million deal that he signed to stay with the Angels through his age 28 season. This will keep him in Los Angeles through age 38 if he wants. There is a no-trade clause in there, and he has no desire to leave Los Angeles and potentially go anywhere else, even his home of Philadelphia. It is a monumental number, the first deal ever over $400 million, and just smashes what was there before and really sets a new standard for Mookie Betts, Aaron Judge, Francisco Lindor, and the other young stars in baseball who are going to be coming toward free agency in the upcoming years. Yeah,
the numbers certainly push the envelope on what the biggest deal could be. Now, Trout had 2 years left on his current contract. Why the urgency to get it done now?
Because, David, Mike Trout loves Los Angeles, and Mike Trout loves being a Los Angeles Angel. Despite the fact that he has been in only one playoff series in his 8 seasons in an Angel uniform, and that playoff series ended in a sweep against the Kansas City Royals, he sees a really good future. There's the $3 billion television contract that the Angels have that will allow them to stretch their payroll. There's the fact that Shohei Ohtani and Joe Adell, 2 dynamic young players, are going to be in the outfield with him long term. And if the Angels can get some pitching, whether it's via free agency or developing it internally, they have a chance to be a force over the next decade, and Mike Trout's going to be at the center of that.
Jeff, to play devil's advocate here, there's always excitement when you hear of a big contract like this, but a lot of times they don't work out, these long-term contracts for huge numbers. Any potential pitfalls you can see in giving Mike Trout $430 million over 12 years?
Look, I'm not Miss Cleo here. I don't have a crystal ball, and I can't say what Mike Trout is going to be. But what Mike Trout is right now is the best baseball player alive. And he has the chance to be the best baseball player ever. And that is not prisoner of the moment. That is not, short-term thinking. That is pure fact based on just how good he has been over his first 8 years. No player in baseball history, David, has piled up as many wins above replacement before his age 27 season as Mike Trout has. And even if he isn't as good as he has been, he's still better than just about everybody else, and there are a lot of prime years left. He shows no signs of slowing down. A .460 on-base percentage last year means the guy is only getting better, which is a scary thing considering how good he's already been throughout his career.
A unique combination, speed, power, character. You got it all there with Mike Trout, and the Angels compensating him thusly. Jeff Passan breaking the news on this historic contract between Trout and the Angels. The guy has finished in the top 5 in AL MVP voting in each of his last 7 seasons, dating to his rookie campaign in 2012. Since the Baseball Writers Association of America began voting for MVP in 1931, only 2 other guys have had a streak that long. A couple of Yankee greats, Yogi Berra and Lou Gehrig. That's good company. Carrie?
All right, David, thank you for that. Baseball analyst Mark Teixeira joining us now on the phone all the way from the Bahamas. We appreciate it. So, look, after Harper's deal, that's Bryce Harper's, we thought, guess what? This is going to be huge. What will Trout get? 12 years, $430 million, the largest contract in sports history. As a man who once signed a $180 million contract over 8 years with the Yankees, give me your player's perspective on this deal.
Yeah, if anybody deserves this contract, it's Mike Trout. I mean, his consistent dominance is something that players marvel at. We know how tough it is to be so good so consistently, and Mike Trout has, easily been the best player of this generation. And, as you heard Jeff talk about, he could go down if he keeps this up as the greatest player of all time. So there's a lot of jealous players out there, not only because of the contract length and the dollars, but he gets to stay in L.A., which he loves playing. And from my standpoint, I got to spend a few months with the Angels, one of the best places to play in baseball.
At least you're being honest. I appreciate that. I could imagine there are some jealous players out there because that deal is amazing. And, of course, why not be in Los Angeles? Meanwhile, let's talk about that franchise, the Angels. This franchise has yet to win a playoff game in 8 seasons with Mike Trout. What does this mean for the Angels going forward?
Well, the Angels had to sign Mike Trout. I mean, he's really untradeable if you think about it because of the type of return that you were going to have to get to trade Mike Trout. That wasn't going to happen. No team was going to give up, their 10 best prospects, right? So the Angels had to sign him, and it's really not Trout's fault that they haven't won. It's really been the injuries. And you look at last year, they had 15 players at one time on the DL, and guys like Shohei Ohtani, who one of the most exciting players in baseball, he missed significant time with Tommy John. So you have all of these issues that the Angels, to me, it's been unlucky. And, Artie Moreno is one of the most committed owners in baseball. Billy Epler is a young, talented GM. I think they can build around Mike Trout, and I think they'll get back to the promised land.
They'll get back to the promised land. Meanwhile, let's talk about this promise. In your opinion, what is this deal? What will be the impact on the sport when you look at this deal?
I honestly don't think there's a huge impact on the sport because Mike Trout is an outlier. I mean, this doesn't set a new bar for other players because nobody is Mike Trout. Now, you might at least have a top salary that people can strive for, but it's not like the next guy is going to get a $450 million contract. I love Mookie Betts and I love Aaron Judge, and these guys are great players, but the consistency that Mike Trout has and the dominance that Mike Trout has puts him in a class completely by himself. And so I just don't think it's going to impact the sport in a meaningful way.
Not everyone is Mike Trout. That is Mark Teixeira joining us right now here on Coast to Coast. I appreciate you for taking some time off from your vacation. Meanwhile, through the age of 26, Mike Trout has the most wins above replacement than any player in Major League Baseball history. The two other players on that list just so happen to be in the Hall of Fame. Take a look there. That's Ty Cobb and Mickey Mantle. Meanwhile, his 64 WAR would already make him a Hall of Famer.
I think people enjoy filling out the brackets so much because it's kind of like a lottery ticket, and you get to kind of put your basketball knowledge into it.
The rush of thinking that they'll be able to fill out the perfect bracket is what gets everybody going.
It gives people the opportunity to have a team that they can pull for in each game.
There's a bunch of Cinderella stories, and, who doesn't love a Cinderella story?
Personally, I hate to fill out brackets. It makes me think too much, but I think it's something that takes over the country at that time.
Everybody's filling out brackets all across the world, and so I think that this is just the greatest sporting event that there is.
Coach Wright is right in that, Seth. It makes you think too much. Meanwhile, our coach, Seth Greenberg, here with us. In the spirit of busting brackets, let's talk about upset. So give me your upset predictions for the first round, will you?
Well, my number 3 upset prediction right here, and that's Minnesota over Louisville. This game shouldn't be played because Minnesota-Louisville, Rick Pitino is suing Louisville, and yet his son has to play against him. But when you think about this Minnesota team as a basketball team, Jordan Murphy is a dominant inside player. He rebounds the ball outside his area. He's impossible to keep off the glass. And Amir Coffey at 6'6" can get in the lane, make plays, and really score it. They have a physicality up front. They can shoot it. Most importantly, they've played against this pack line defense of Louisville because that is the defense of the choice in the Big Ten Conference. I like Minnesota in that upset.
All right, so my back get already busted. Meanwhile, for the fans of the Pac-12, Seth, you got any good news?
I do have good news. I haven't a lot of good news all season, but I got Oregon over Wisconsin. Oregon's won 8 games in a row. When you think about 8 games in a row, how have they won those games? They've won it on the defensive end. Kenny Wooten, he protects the rim, and he's got to play well because Ethan Hath, Wisconsin, plays through him. You got to stay down on all those shot fakes and step-throughs, wall up, stay home on the shooters. I think that there's an Oregon team. They got an experienced point guard in Peyton Pritchard. They're an elite defensive team. They extend their defense to buy some time, so in the half court, they're not as exposed as long. I like Oregon in the upset.
All right, and the upset you like the most for the folks at home?
Hall in. I'm all over Seton Hall. I like Miles Powell. I like Miles Cale. And, you talk about, look, Wofford is the Cinderella, but they're the 7th seed. I'm not sure that Wofford should be the 7th seed. This might have to be flipped around. When I think of Seton Hall, Miles Powell has made big shots. This is a Seton Hall team that's beaten Kentucky. This is a Seton Hall team that rebounds the ball. This is a Seton Hall team that defends. I really like Seton Hall in this matchup. Wofford's a terrific basketball team. But I think Seton Hall runs them off the three-point line and has a toughness about him. You know you're a tough team, then after a game when you beat Marquette, and the opposing team doesn't want to shake your hand, his head coach, you know what he does? Miles Powell goes right after the guy. That's a tough dude right there.
All right, I take it that's our coach giving us the upset education. Meanwhile, though, Seth, St. Joseph's has just announced that it parted ways with head coach Phil Martelli after 34 years. Can you take a moment and tell us what he's meant to the sport?
Phil Martelli is a special guy. Phil Martelli is a guy that represented the profession in a way. He did things not just on the basketball court, but off the basketball court. He was involved in different types of charities, Coaches vs. Cancer. He was a #1 seed at St. Joe's, got his team to the Elite Eight. But it's more important about wins and losses. Phil Martelli cared and loved his players, and the impact he's had on St. Joe's as a university in terms of what he's done for that university, you can't even put a value on. He's won games, but more importantly, the manner in which he's carried himself. Phil Martelli is a Philadelphia treasure. He's a St. Joe's treasure. The one thing I would have liked in the press release that basically talked about him being let go, they should have talked about all the great things that he did for the university. Unfortunately, They have a new athletic director, Don DeJulia, retired last year. The manner in which he let him go, they have a right to let him go. But the manner in which he let him go, you need to pay tribute to what he accomplished and what he brought to that university. His players will miss him. The university will miss him. Philadelphia basketball will miss him because Philadelphia basketball, it has an unbelievable sense of family. It's not just St. Joe's and Villanova and Temple and LaSalle. It's one big family, and Phil will be missed.
I'm sure the fans there in Philly appreciate your take on that, Coach. That's Seth Greenberg joining us here on Coast to Coast. Thank you.
Much more from the tournament on the way. Jay Billis joins us with why he believes we'll see an unprecedented Duke-Carolina round 4 for the title.
I was looking for it.
Plus, Marty Smith's marathon continues. He stopped at Murray State to go all access with the Racers' future lottery pick, Ja Morant. That's on the way.
If your mouth is made to amaze, let Philips Sonicare give its care a raise. If your teeth chew beyond their limit, then they've earned 62,000 movements a minute. If your mouth's used to